Politics. The word might even make you cringe, or maybe it sparks your passion. Either way, politics shapes everything around us. The roads we drive on, the air we breathe, and the safety we feel. But here's the irony. We need politics, and yet it often falls short of our expectations. Why? Because politics is a double-edged sword. It promises to solve our problems, yet it also creates new ones. But before we dismiss it as a necessary evil, let's dig deeper. What exactly is politics, and why can't we live without it? At its core, politics is how we make collective decisions. Think of it as the art, and sometimes the chaos, of managing disagreements.
Wow.
You boys are pissing me off! Hey, shut up and sit down before I make change out of you and you. If you don't take that...
Humans, by nature, are diverse in their opinions and goals. Some want pineapple on their pizza. Others think that's blasphemy. Now, scale that up to a society with millions of people. How do we manage disagreements on issues that matter deeply, like how to keep our neighborhoods safe, or who gets access to clean water? Here's the paradox. To protect ourselves, we form police forces and militaries. But who protects us from them? Politics helps us decide how to share power, impose limits, and hold each other accountable. The same paradox emerges in other seemingly universal agreements. Take education, for example. Most of us agree that children deserve access to a quality education. It's a cornerstone of a thriving society. But how do we define quality? Should schools emphasize standardized testing, critical thinking, or technical skills? And who decides how much funding goes to public schools versus private ones? What about the balance between parental choice and government oversight? Or consider public health. We all want to live in a society that protects us from diseases and ensures we have access to health care. But when it comes to the details, things get complicated. Who pays for health care? Individuals, employers, or the government? Should vaccines and preventative measures be mandatory? Or do people have the right to opt out? And in a world of limited resources, how do we prioritize who gets life-saving treatments during a crisis? These questions highlight a fundamental truth. Even when we agree on the need for solutions, the details often divide us. Politics is how we negotiate these nuances, balancing competing interests and finding ways to move forward, imperfectly, but together. Despite our differences, most of us agree on 5 universal desires. Firstly, the right to choose and replace our leaders. A 2017 Pew Research Center survey of 38 countries found that 78% of people think representative democracy is a good way to govern. In every country polled, at least half of the respondents agreed. A 2024 survey commissioned by Earth for All and the Global Commons Alliance polled 22,000 participants across 22 countries. The survey found that democracy is overwhelmingly the most favored political system, with 81% of respondents agreeing that having a democratic political system would be very good or fairly good. The 2024 Democracy Perception Index surveyed over 62,000 people across 53 countries, representing 75% of the global population. The study found that 85% of respondents worldwide believe that democracy is important for their country, with this sentiment being a majority opinion in all surveyed nations. The results ranged from 94% agreement in Greece, where democracy first started, to 63% in Iran. The next thing we can all agree on is fair and equitable treatment for everyone. Equal treatment gives everyone the same resources, but equitable treatment gives everyone the resources they need to have an equal opportunity to succeed. This equal opportunity is what has commonly been referred to as the American dream. And it's a large part of the reason why Western democracies have generated so much wealth and influence over the last century. And yet, the 2023 Open Society Barometer, which surveyed over 36,000 people across 30 countries, found that poverty and inequality are seen as the biggest challenges worldwide, with 21% of respondents saying these issues impact their lives the most. This concern spanned countries as diverse as Senegal, one of the world's smallest economies, and the United States, the world's largest economy. The findings highlight how deeply economic inequality affects people across the globe. The third thing we can all agree on is solidarity. The idea that, as citizens of the same country, we share a bond. We try to support our fellow citizens when they are experiencing tough times, and hope that they will do the same for us. We create and contribute to government programs and institutions that assist specific groups of people who are going through hard times. Some governments do this more than others, but all Western democracies provide support in some fashion. Even in the United States, nearly 6 in 10 Americans believe that healthcare should be provided by the government. And support for the Social Security program cuts across all demographics, including Democrats, Republicans, young people, and older people. And the last two universal desires are less controversial. We all want safety and security for ourselves and our loved ones, and we all want enough resources and money to live a decent life. These aren't just ideals, they are the foundations of every political system. Politics is the bridge between these shared values and the messy reality of making them happen. And that's where it gets tricky. Politics isn't just about what we want, it's about what we can have. No one gets everything they want. We face constraints, some physical, like the limited natural resources on our planet, and others social, like the laws and norms that prevent us from harming others. And then there's the toughest constraint of all, each other. We are interconnected. What I do affects you, and what you do affects me. This creates what's known as collective action problems. These problems aren't the result of stupidity, they are the result of intelligence. We are smart enough to realize that we need to cooperate, but selfish enough to still try to act in our own interests. Take climate change, for example. Virtually everybody knows that we should cut emissions. And yet, in North America, who amongst us is lining up to sacrifice cheap gas for their car? Politics exists to help us solve these dilemmas. At its heart, it's about making promises to each other. Leaders making promises to citizens. Nations making promises to allies and adversaries. And all of us making promises to future generations. But here's the catch. Some promises are fragile. The promises that endure are those that are self-enforcing. They work because they align with everyone's long-term interests. And this is where political institutions come in. We create laws and organizations that make these promises stable and lasting. The promises that last are those backed by effective political institutions. For example, the establishment of the Social Security system in the United States during the 1930s created a self-enforcing policy by tying benefits directly to worker contributions through payroll taxes. This structure ensured widespread public buy-in and financial sustainability, aligning individual and collective interests. A 2020 poll by AARP found that 96% of Americans still consider Social Security an important government program. Another example is the European Union's single market, which established a set of shared rules and institutions to manage trade, labor, and competition across member states. By standardizing these rules, the EU ensured that all members benefited economically from participating in the single market. These economic incentives made it in every country's interest to comply with the rules, reinforcing cooperation naturally. This structure helped make the promise of shared prosperity both stable and lasting. According to the 2023 Eurobarometer report, 71% of Europeans believe that having the euro is beneficial for their country, and 79% think it's advantageous for the EU as a whole. Politics isn't perfect. It's messy, frustrating, and sometimes disappointing. But it's also how we've built societies where we can coexist, collaborate, and thrive. It's how we turn selfish interests into collective action, transforming chaos into order. It's how we manage the impossible balancing act of our individual dreams and our shared goals. If you are interested in learning more about some of the topics or concepts we discussed in today's video, I'd recommend picking up a copy of Why Politics Fails by Ansell. Politics isn't just about the leaders we elect or the debates we endure. It's about the promises we make to each other, to our communities, and to future generations. And if we can outsmart ourselves, politics can be the tool that helps us keep those promises. We can make promises to each other to fix what is broken and collectively work towards our shared interest in democracy, equity, solidarity, safety, and prosperity. We can build and strengthen the right political institutions to make our promises self-enforcing.